What is going on, everybody? It is episode 240 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Today we've got a two-person show, no guests, so we have chill vibes. We have no one to impress, and we are rolling up our sleeves.
I did that because Mary said I had to put the air conditioner on.
But we're about to get into some messy topics.
Yes, very messy. Yeah. And we do have people to impress. We have those that are watching to impress, I would say.
I like to think we're all equals here, and we don't need to perform,
okay.
You know?
Okay, fair enough. So today, if we're not trying to impress everyone, we'll just get moving. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We are going to talk about the box office projections for Black Panther are starting to dip just a little bit here as we enter the release date for the movie, which we are actually going to see right after this show is over today. We're going to talk about Steven Spielberg calling out Warner Brothers and HBO Max because he's a whiny baby.
Wow.
And then we're going to talk about Rainn Wilson being also a weird whiny baby. No. Rainn Wilson said some ridiculous stuff. We're
turning up the snark today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Rainn Wilson made some amazing changes to his name, which are absolutely going to solve climate change. Don't know what that means? Stay tuned. We're going to get into it. We're also going to talk about resurfaced clips from Disney related to, what was it, Girl Meets World, right?
Yes.
Pushing anti-communist propaganda, as they phrase it. Anti-communist propaganda. We got that. We got a couple of other things. We'll just get right into it if you're ready, Mary.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Of course I'm ready.
Let's go. So, we're going to start with Black Panther. So it says, Black Panther Wakanda Forever box office projections significantly decline in lead up to film's release. I would actually argue that this is a little bit hyperbolic. Like, significantly feels a little bit heavy-handed in the language, but it does decline somewhat. So the opening box office projections initially were $180 to $225 million for the opening weekend domestically, 445 to $590 million overseas.
Okay, and now we're looking at
170 million,
175 domestic
to 200, between 170 to 205 million domestic, 435 to 534. I suppose it is still a significant amount. I mean, that's a lot of money on anyone's dime, right?
And they're looking at 155 to 195 million internationally on the opening weekend.
Now, the interesting thing about this is the opening weekend for the original Black Panther was 202 million. But when you think about inflation, like, that's a significant drop that we're going to see here. Mm-hmm. Like, even if it beats 200 million for this opening box office weekend here, that's still with inflation. That's a lot less.
I don't know why I just feel like I want them to fail. Like, where does it come from? I don't know. Like, where does this animosity in me come from?
Yeah.
That
I don't have that.
I want everything Marvel to just fail.
With this one, it's more like I don't mind Letitia Wright, so I'd like to see her be successful. But with the rest of it, I'm not really all that against this production. Not as much as I was against Thor Love and Thunder, because I thought the advertising for Thor Love and Thunder was stupid, and I kind of find Taika Waititi, as good as he is in some things, to be quite annoying at times. Ryan Coogler I find to be a talented director, a guy leading good productions, so I'd like to see them all succeed. But at the same time, you're right, Marvel is starting to wear on people. It certainly wears on me most of the time. There's a reason I'm always excited when we get to talk about DC news, and whenever it's Marvel news, I'm just kind of
This is gonna be 2 hours and 40 minutes of sanctimonious just garbage. Like, I'm sorry, but the whole thing is ideological, and the fans, maybe I'm the problem, okay? But, like, the fans are just cringing me out. Like,
what are they saying?
I was just looking at tweets from people who have seen the first showings, and one of them was like, I cried 4 times watching this. It was an emotional roller coaster.
Do you imagine that, like, there's like somebody needs to tell the story of, like, whoever the guy, like, some guy on Twitter who's like, yeah, he did. I was literally next to some random guy who just kept randomly breaking out into tears in the middle of this superhero movie.
Yeah, I would turn around and be like, shh. But
would you stop crying already?
and then I saw like people weirdly thirsting for Namor.
Yes, you can't call him Namor anymore.
Namor.
Can't call him Namor anymore.
Namor.
You have to say it with
Can
a
you
smoky,
roll your R's?
I can't do that.
I can't do it if I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I saw like thirst tweets for Namor. I saw also like just people talking about what this movie is going to mean for the culture of Africa and like their perceptions of women and of like gay people.
Did you see any of the stuff that happened after the first Black Panther came out where there was people looking for Wakanda on a map?
Bruh. Are you for real?
That was like people were like looking up like on Travelocity how they could take a trip to Wakanda.
No way.
That was a real thing.
Yikes.
That was so. I mean, that's more of a problem with like history or with like geography and like our school system, right?
Yeah,
like,
but still, it's just like I don't know. Can you make a good, entertaining story without it meaning anything for like women's rights in the third world or something bizarre like that? It's totally unrelated.
Well, and that stuff isn't real. Like that's all the studios in the media machine saying stuff like that. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. No superhero movie has ever actually changed anything for women's rights or for any type of
in a bad or good direction
an actual cause.
But there was that cast member. What was her name? Michelle Cole. Is it? Who was talking about
who only took the role because it had LGBTQ representation.
Yeah, I think she was she wasn't from Africa, but she has like
she was
African heritage in Ghana. Yeah, and she was born and raised in the UK, and she did this bloviating interview where she said that her being represented in film as a lesbian woman from Ghana, she's not really from Ghana, is going to change the perception of LGBT characters for people from Ghana because they have like anti-LGBT legislation.
And let's face it,
that's not true.
Let's face it, this is a movie that just doesn't have the actual Black Panther. It doesn't have Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
So you've been at a handicap from day one. You had all of the people. There was a lot of debate going on as to whether they should recast Chadwick Boseman.
T'Challa, and people think it's anti-male that they chose not to recast T'Challa.
That was the thing.
I don't know.
The MCU strikes again, where people were like, "Look, it's like
maybe it's not anti-male, but it is like." Telling that they would choose to replace him with a female character rather than another male character who isn't T'Challa.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it kind of makes sense with his sister.
That they're related, yeah.
And because in the comics, she did take over for like a small run of comics where she was the Black Panther, so technically it's canonically consistent. But the other thing here is that this movie falls directly in the middle of the other Marvel releases as far as its advanced ticket sales. So it's ahead of Thor: Love and Thunder as far as advanced ticket sales, but behind Doctor Strange. Or I might have that backwards. Yeah, no, behind Doctor Strange in the multiverse.
That seems
of madness.
Right to me.
Yeah, so
Thor: Love and Thunder, you really can't get any worse than that one. Watching that in theaters just made me want to die. Like
so and that was
not
that shorter?
To be dramatic.
Was that I don't remember. Was it shorter?
I think it was.
Yeah.
It still felt too long. Let me look it up.
So now you get to have the same feeling, but you get to have it for almost 3 hours. So guys, this movie is 2 hours.
We're going to be sitting there for over 3 hours.
2 hours and 40 minutes the movie is. Now look, Jeremy Johns gave a good review of this movie. He said it definitely didn't need to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. He felt like there was too much time spent with a lot of the ancillary characters. Like Martin Freeman's character, but in general, he felt that the movie was good. He gave it like the rating, a good time, no alcohol required, which is like his middle.
This was like almost exactly 2 hours long, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Just under 2 hours.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So they were way shorter, and it still felt like an eternity. And so when you count on the time that we get there, we get like our food and drinks, we sit down, we watch through the previews. Then it actually starts.
Yeah.
like almost an hour after we got there, and we still have to sit through another 3 hours.
It's like bring your ibuprofen and your migraine medication because the loud sounds and everything. It's gonna give me sensory overload. Like listen, I have a hard time being motivated at all with anything to do with Marvel movies these days. There hasn't been anything that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Secret Invasion with Nick Fury on Disney Plus. That's about the only thing that they've got coming out that I have any type of excitement about. But that's because that's a political thriller. Whether they can actually do that well in the year 2022, I have no idea. Judging by the fall of their stock price yesterday, Disney isn't exactly lighting the board on fire with most of their work recently. Nobody seems to be liking Disney all that much. But this movie also will probably do better overseas than a lot of other movies. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's getting a Russia release. I don't think anything comes out in Russia right now.
No.
Do you remember when Putin told everyone to pirate stuff as a way of pushing back on everything?
So maybe Wakanda Forever will get torrented in Russia, but it will do nothing for Marvel's bottom line.
You'll have to
but
sail
I'm
the
thankful
high
for
seas.
that deep down.
That they're going to torrent it over in Russia?
Yeah.
That's very mean of you. It's very mean of you.
Look, I'm just tired of a lame superhero movie getting pitched as like a milestone in our culture of the same gravity as like the civil rights movement.
We need like
it's a movie.
We need movies to advertise themselves as like not groundbreaking, not going to advance humanity, absolutely fluff that nobody needs to watch, but you're going to watch anyways because you've got it so easy here.
This is just caviar for critics. Like all of the critic headlines have been Wakanda Forever is a groundbreaking masterpiece. It's a miracle.
It's got 85 on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't honestly that high. I mean, that's pretty average. I think the reviews are pretty minimal. And also we're going to have the introduction of Riri Williams. I would love to know what Caper2X thinks of that, given that nobody in the history of the world has ever liked Riri Williams, the character in the comics. So we will see. But
by the way, I just wanted to do a drive-by shot at the costume for the new Black Panther.
Ah, yes. You have a problem with it.
I do. I think
No
we've
boob
actually
window.
talked about this before, but it's unbelievable to me that like when the first teasers were coming out, people weren't sure whether the new Black Panther was going to be male or female.
I mean, I thought the costume said
Because-
pretty well that it was that it was very at least the hips.
I
hips
saw
looked feminine.
people disagreeing about whether they thought it was a male or a female replacing T'Challa, and it's because that costume looked incredibly androgynous. Now, like, I'm not dunking on Letitia Wright or what her body looks like, but I just don't like the way they actively resist making female superheroes look attractive and like women.
You can't have them look good. I think back to when they did the Black Widow movie. First of all, they gender swapped Taskmaster, but then it's very clearly a guy in the costume when they're doing the stunts. And then when the woman's like when she takes like the thing off, it's like she's like half the size. They did the same thing in the Scream movies where like in Scream 4, I think that was the first time there was a female. Oh no, that's not true. I'm sorry. One of the killers was a female in the second one, but when it's not Emma Stone, I don't remember the name of the actress, but the one who plays the killer in that movie is so tiny that when she takes the mask off, you can tell that she looks actively like a foot shorter than any of the shots.
You don't mean Florence Pugh, right?
No, I'm talking about in Scream 4, the horror movie.
Sorry.
I always forget that actress's name, but she takes her mask off, and you actively see that she's like a foot shorter than she just was,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of funny. Like,
Yeah, there's a lack of continuity there. And also, I said the same thing when Batgirl production shots were out. Before that got canceled, she looked like she was a mechanic. Like, that suit looked like coveralls for a mechanic.
Yes.
I just resent that female superheroes can't look feminine and look like women.
Emma
truly.
Roberts was who I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, she's a
She's
tiny woman.
Yeah, so that was couldn't that one. I always get I always go Emma Watson, Emma Stone, and then I never quite make it to Emma Roberts in the Hollywood in the Emma hierarchy. I always
She's better than. I think Emma Roberts is better than Emma Watson.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, I don't know anything about her, but
and Emma Stone.
Literally anyone's better than Emma Watson. She's insufferable. But yeah, so the costume comes off.
No boob window. Like I can excuse no boob window.
I can't.
For cleavage.
Bring it back.
But can she like have boobs?
No.
At all?
Nope.
Or is that against the rules now? Like, I was just listening to this podcast about old Hollywood and why, like, women in old Hollywood films were so much more sensual and attractive and actually tantalizing than women are today in media. And it's simply because of, like, how comparatively repressive that society was. And it was sort of this feeling of like women have big boobs and I don't know how to handle it. One of them is going to poke my eyes out. And then they like shifted to in the 60s to like Twiggy and like less voluptuous women, and it was like less threatening, you know?
So what you think that there's a reason for that? That's some type of social commentary there?
There's some like new repression these days that means we can't like acknowledge that women have sex appeal at all.
Well, the reason for that is, and I really do believe this, is because remember, women can dress sexy as long as they're doing it for themselves. But the second they do it in anything created by a guy, you're doing it in service of the patriarchy, and then you're going to hear really, really amazing words like the male gaze.
That's the comparison I actually wanted to draw. If you look at any of these actresses from Wakanda Forever on carpets or doing press tours, they are dressed in the most form-fitting, skin-tight, revealing, feminine clothing that you've seen them in. But then in the movie, they cover everything, and their wardrobe is to make them look more masculine.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry right now, is they very clearly don't believe what they're putting on screen. It's very clearly an agenda. So it says they also noted pinpoint forecast tentatively lean towards the low end of current ranges. So they're kind of playing it safe with their predictions on where they think this would go. I think it still makes a good amount of money once it's all said and done, but I don't know how you do this long term after this without T'Challa. I would have loved to see them. Now, guys, I don't know any spoilers. I haven't watched any spoiler reviews, so I don't know what's happened in the movie. We're going to see it tonight. But I would have loved to find a way for them to bring back Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger character, but we'll see.
I like to think that some people are at screenings of Wakanda Forever right now, but they're going to the bathroom to watch PCC.
Yes, of course. Well, why
in the
wouldn't
meantime?
They? Or they're in the theater and they've just got us in their headphones while the movie's playing.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for. All right, let's go to some super chats.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett being Brett impresses me. Mary would if she would sign the papers with Bad App. LOL.
They really, really want you guys to get hitched.
Yeah.
Are you? I got a question.
I'd rather not.
I got a question for you. Are you?
Okay.
Are you one of the girls that sat around and planned out your dream wedding when you were young? Have you given that thought?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think every female has done that.
Every girl's done that?
Mm-hmm.
Or they sit around and then they get mad at the guy when he's not as interested in the dream wedding as
no, it's worrying if he would be equally interested.
It should be. It should be. It should be equally as worrying. Where do you want to wear or no, what time of year? Summer?
Oh. I don't know.
You have never thought about
I mean, I've thought about it, but I just don't know.
Fall wedding, summer wedding?
Summer would be horrible.
Fall wedding.
Yeah, let's say fall. Kai Rain said, I'm not reading that Bad App.
No, she's not.
Now, see, it's a movement. Like, I'm not the only one who is not reading that. Now, other people aren't reading that. K for 2X said, you're a mean girl, Mary Morgan. Wakanda forever.
I want to know what you think.
You're offended on the behalf of Marvel.
I want to know what you think.
They don't need you. They don't need your help.
I want to know what you think about Riri Williams. We'll see.
Carnell said, Sup, Brett. Hello, Mary. Hail to all crisis actors.
That was less blasphemous than it usually is.
Yeah, I suppose so. Big Dave sent us 99 cents without a message.
Thank you, Big Dave.
Raven Thor said, thanks for showing that video to Hannah Claire yesterday. Great reaction. When Hannah Claire is happy, the whole world smiles.
That
so
is
true.
And yes, she is like, her face when she saw that was, and I hope you guys, that whoever watched yesterday and heard my plea to you all, my call to arms is that somebody makes the same video, but you make Hannah Claire as Super Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. That's what we need.
Yeah, they'll put in another 6 to 8 hours of work to accomplish that in time.
That's what we love about you guys.
It's like a whole part-time job at this point, submitting memes to our subreddit. Kai Rain said, "'Cause I know Hannah took your money." So true. Just so you guys know, when Hannah Claire is on the show, all of your super chats go directly to her bank account.
Just the money, the money is literally vacuumed up into one of those things that gets where
at the bank, those tubes
pneumatic tubes.
Yes. Yesh said, TBH, Shang-Chi was Love and Thunder Snorefest.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been actually meaning to rewatch Shang-Chi. Maybe it's because I'm kind of starved for anything good from a Marvel product in the last several years. But Shang-Chi was fine. Eternals was one of the most offensive.
Why was it offensive? I never saw Eternals.
It was offensively boring. Offensively boring. Literally the whole movie is just a bunch of actors who maybe in their own productions look fine, but in an extremely mediocre production, Angelina Jolie stands out because she was the only one who had any actual charisma. And
yeah, I think that's why they're siphoning off of these A-listers and putting them into Marvel films. Once you have an established career, then you're free to make a cameo in a Marvel film. But before then, you have to avoid it if you don't want to get typecasted. And
then it had Gemma Chan and whatever, the guy who looks exactly like Sebastian Stan but isn't Sebastian Stan. And they have literally the most boring sex scene in the history of sex scenes.
In Eternals?
Yeah. It's like a Marvel version of a sex scene. And the whole time
do they make a bunch of slapstick jokes?
No. It's played for romance. And it's really bad. It's really bad.
Just fade to black, man.
That's what they should have done.
Glenn RK4 said, in my opinion, MCU ended at Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it didn't even end after. I didn't even really care for Endgame. I thought Infinity War was the better movie of the two. So
The Last of My Kind said, happy birthday to my beloved Marine Corps 24/7
247 years.
247 years?
Is today Marine Corps? Yeah? Today's Marine Corps birthday? Okay.
I didn't know that. Kai Rain said, pass the crayons?
Does Bad App have crayons?
Wait, is this a children's show?
I have no idea.
Pass the crayons. Caper2X said, I survived Jar Jar Binks, DC boy. Make mine Marvel.
Look, it doesn't hurt my feelings when you call me DC boy. It would be worse if you called me Washington DC boy. That would be far more offensive to me than just being DC boy.
Today I saw a tweet that was like, the 700,000 proud citizens that live in DC are getting taxed without representation, and you don't see us complaining about it.
I love the idea that you're a wimp is an argument. We're being oppressed too, and we're not complaining. How dare you?
Because it was in response to someone saying that if you work from ages 15 to 17, you shouldn't be taxed because you're not voting yet.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Probably not. But that's a really. I never even thought about that.
It is technically taxation without representation, even though they say that you can get it refunded to you once you are voting age. That's a lie. I don't think that's actually true. Tradap Taco Bell Prince said, let's get married in Sad Girl season. What is Sad Girl season, though? Is that winter?
Halls and the Kid says that the joke is that Marines eat crayons.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was business majors that eat crayons, though.
Okay.
I thought that was the running bit. Or both. I don't know.
Perhaps both.
I always saw these TikToks that, either... It was humanities GF, business school BF, and they're both stupid and don't know it. Not Alan Rogers said, riot, kill happy birthday, gents. I'm confused. Is that something to do with the Marine Corps?
I don't know.
Derek Null said, okay, I'm late, so you're probably past this, but I cried 3 times in Logan. That movie was a masterpiece. But crying over Black Panther is ridiculous. I think crying over like almost any movie is a little bit ridiculous.
I got a little emotional at the end of Logan. A little bit. I didn't cry, but I definitely like that is a different example, a far different example than a Black Panther. Like I get like we don't know. For all we know, it could be an extremely emotional telling of how they move on after T'Challa. And to be fair, there is a lot of emotional resonance. Like a lot of people felt, I believe that to this day, a lot of that emotional connection that comes to The Dark Knight comes because of Heath Ledger's passing before the movie came out. Like there's a lot of emotional connection that led to the kind of mystique of that movie. So the real life passing of a person that was involved in a project isn't something to be discounted. So
yeah,
and a lot of those people.
But that means it's emotional for the people who knew him.
And let's face it, a lot of those people are they're weirdly part of that cult of celebrity, and they think very highly of celebrities. So
yeah.
Let's hold off and
Okay.
let's move on, and we will come back to the super chats. We will read all of them, guys. We absolutely will. This is an interesting one. I wanted to cover this because before I started this podcast, I remembered this article from Christopher Nolan talking about something similar. So it's kind of a good opportunity to kind of have a chance to cover it finally.
What did Christopher Nolan say about this?
Basically the same thing. So Steven Spielberg says filmmakers were thrown under the bus by Warner Brothers' HBO Max strategy. So what happened, guys, is why this is annoying is because when 2020 happened and all of the stuff that happened with the pandemic. Oh, sorry. Guys, I hit the wrong button.
He hit
there.
the wrong button.
We're doing,
haphazard today.
We're doing great today. I hit the outro screen. We're doing fantastic. When 2020 happened and the studios all had to pivot and figure out what the hell they were going to do after the theaters
I'm sure
were
they
closed.
immediately saw money signs in the streaming world.
Yeah.
And do I resent that the lockdowns forced people to go to streaming, which enriched mega corporations like Netflix, which then, after the return to normalcy had to mass fire their bloated workforce. I don't know if the the mass firings at Netflix have continued.
Yeah.
But we did cover that somewhat. I do resent that. And the whole dynamic that happened where people were forced out of theaters and also privately owned theaters were shut down.
Yeah, not allowed
usually
to be open.
permanently shut down.
So I'm going to read this quote. He says, "The pandemic created an opportunity for streaming platforms to raise their subscriptions to record-breaking levels and also throw some of my best filmmaker friends under the bus as their movies were unceremoniously not given theatrical releases."
This is extremely
Spielberg.
tone deaf.
It's so tone deaf.
This is extremely tone deaf.
And this is something that only comes from the mind of somebody who has a movie theater in his house.
Right.
Spielberg told the publication they were paid off and the films were suddenly relegated to, in this case, HBO Max, the case I'm talking about. What he's talking about is Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins both got very, very hefty payouts to shill for Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were given like $10 million each to be like, go to HBO Max. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And
then Gal Gadot started singing Imagine, and all was well.
And everyone's like, that's not how you fix this.
Yeah.
That's not how you
This
fix
is so
this.
tone deaf. Filmmakers weren't the losers in this situation. The people who lost out were people who run privately owned movie theaters or franchised movie theaters that got shut down either temporarily or permanently from the conditions of the lockdown. The people who had to be locked in their homes without working, who were forced to go to these streaming services for their only entertainment and couldn't have that social experience of going to the theater anymore. It was taken away from them unwillingly.
He's also comparing...
Filmmakers were perfectly allowed to continue their craft.
He's also comparing studios he's not realizing that studios and streaming services are the same thing now, at least in the ones he's talking about.
Yeah.
Meaning that when he's talking about HBO Max, he's talking about Warner Brothers, who gives you the money to make the movie.
And they're the ones doing theatrical releases now.
Yes. If Disney gives you the money to make your movie, they're the ones who get to decide where it comes out, unless in your contract, and now that's what happened with a lot of this stuff, is in their contracts, for instance, with Black Widow, there was stuff in Scarlett Johansson's contract that said she made more money depending on how much money the movie made at the box office. So when they released the movie both on Disney Plus and in the theaters, that cuts back on her opportunity to make that bonus or to make that end of her contract. And she sued Disney and won.
Oh,
and got a settlement there. So for this, it's like the problem was that Christopher Nolan thought he was going to be the one who really like pulled people out of the pandemic and got people back to the theaters. And that was never just one movie. You could argue that it was Top Gun Maverick that did that kind of, but that still took till 2022. And Tenet came out in 2021.
I mean, there was the James Bond movie in 2021
at the very end of 2021.
I think that did some of the work there.
In November of 2021.
Maybe Old. I knew a lot of people who saw that in 2021.
I don't even know what that is.
It was M. Night Shyamalan,
that
that horror film.
And the reason this rang true for me, because I remember this other article from a while back where the director of Freaky, which I heard was actually kind of good, he blasts the studios over day and date releases amid Hollywood Ends launch. They did the same thing recently with Hollywood Ends with Jamie Lee Curtis. Yeah. They released it both on Peacock and on streaming. But at the same point, everyone knew that movie. It was like they could tell that the studio had no confidence in that movie because you don't get like much Michael Myers in that movie at all anyways. Yeah. So it's like we're in this transitional period as far as the entertainment industry goes. They're trying to figure out, remember, this is during a time when they have to figure out how they can get their product out to people and have them spend money on it. I'm sorry, your movie doesn't get to come out on the big movie screen that you want people to see it on. Yes, it was made for the theaters, but that doesn't mean anything. He lists the success of Elvis as like a reason to be hopeful. And then I almost feel like he's making a comparison to say that Elvis is in the same case as his movie, The Fabelmans, which is a dramatized version, a story inspired by his childhood. And I'm sorry, Elvis's name was on the movie Elvis. Like, nobody's going to know what the hell The Fabelmans is. Normal people will not know what The Fabelmans is. And it cost $40 million to make. Now, the slap in the face is like, what if he had been relegated to streaming with The Fabelmans, but Bros comes out in the theater? So they're not perfect. Like, that was almost an overcorrection. They're like, maybe we can release Bros in the theater when it was absolutely a film designed for streaming.
Yeah, I mean, his point is more like, where is the high art in theatrical releases now? Bros would not be an example of that. Well,
none of the high art this year paid off, other than Elvis. Till bombed. Armageddon Time not doing well as far as I remember. And then what was the other one?
Amsterdam bombed.
Amsterdam really had a massive budget bombed. Like, maybe it's
that might recover in streaming though.
Maybe it's a statement on our society. Maybe it says something about our educational system. Maybe it says something about the absolute polarization of our culture in a point where
you can argue all of that.
Nobody wants to go to a movie to hear a message. They want to go to see a Black Panther beat up a guy.
Yeah, you can argue all of that, but it doesn't say that filmmakers are oppressed.
No, it does not. It just proves that there's no viability at the theaters for projects that are not big name properties, or there's less viability for projects that are not part of big name properties.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cultural commentary that there is to be had about the fact that the theatrical releases right now are kids' movies, superhero movies.
Maybe he should have just made...
mainly like action, that type of thing.
He lists the movie The Post from 2017, which was about when they released the Pentagon Papers in 1971. Nobody wants to see that now. But nobody wants to see that now.
That's okay, yes. And we can talk about the reasons for that, but it doesn't have to do with like filmmakers being uniquely put upon in society.
Yeah.
Like, you are some of the most privileged people in society.
And his idea, basically they're saying like, my art is so great that it deserves to be seen on the big screen. Now, the funny thing is, I agree when Christopher Nolan says that, but that's because Christopher Nolan has proved time and time again that his movies make money. Not just because it's art, but because his movies are consistently successful at the box office, Tenet notwithstanding recently.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't like the framing that filmmakers were in any way the victims of the lockdown conditions, rather than the audiences. And now he is, in a way, basically blaming both the film industry and the audiences for the state it's in right now.
I wonder what Steven Spielberg.
He's blaming the audience and the casual moviegoer for having, like, for not having the correct taste. And I don't think that's fair.
I wonder what his opinion was on lockdowns. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, he likely stepped in line with the rest of Hollywood.
That would be.
I wouldn't guess anything else, and we would have heard something different if that weren't the case.
Yeah, I was like you don't believe for a second that he actually was like, we shouldn't be locked down. We should.
No.
Also, it's really funny. He mentions in the other part of the article, what does he say? He says something about like adults don't want to step on sticky popcorn. He says, and then everything started to change, he continued. I think older audience were relieved that they didn't have to step on sticky popcorn. No, they were afraid they were going to die of a virus that people were being fear-mongered into being scared of at the time. They didn't care about sticky popcorn. They thought that their body was going to give out at a movie theater filled with a bunch of people.
Of course, like, how dirty theaters are is the first thing that comes to mind for Steven Spielberg.
Which is a backhanded insult,
has not
too.
been in a publicly used one in years.
He says,
many years.
He says, audience who make the trek out to theaters today tend to feel that the trip was worthwhile if the film is of a certain caliber. No, they do not. They care if the movie had big bang crazy special effects and if it allowed them to just get out of their head for a couple of hours. I don't think people care about movies being good anymore. Like, not in the same way. I think.
Yeah, and we should talk about that. And I think that is like something that we can lament.
Yeah, Julian in the chat says, to be honest, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story wasn't fair either. Like, remember he released West Side Story, which was $100 million bomb.
That $100 million failure,
in which he told people that the reason there weren't subtitles during the Spanish language speaking parts of the movie was because of more racism.
Yeah,
because
and Rachel
America's
Zegler
evil.
was out there in the press tour for it, saying the exact same thing. Like, wow, it's 2021 and you don't speak Spanish.
Learn Spanish already.
Get with the times.
You can't afford gas. Buy a Tesla. So I want to read a little bit of what Christopher Nolan said, because he kind of it was funny how similar they were. So he says, some of our this is from December of 2020. So he says, some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Filmmaker Christopher Nolan said, whose relationship with Warner Brothers dates back to Insomnia in 2002. And they lost him after the big bungle of the release of Tenet, because now he's working with Universal to make the Oppenheimer movie.
Oh.
So he's not even he's not even with Universal, or he's not even with Warner Brothers anymore. And like I said, he did all his Batman movies with them. Does
Universal have significant stake in any streaming service?
I believe. Because if Universal is owned by Comcast owns stake in Hulu.
Okay. Still a majority, right?
Yeah. No, Disney owns the majority. 70%, okay. I believe. So it's like they don't realize that they sound very
toned down. It's all entangled together, and there's no going back from that.
He says, Warner Brothers has had an incredible machine for getting a filmmaker's work out there, both in theaters and in the home, and they are dismantling it as we speak. No, they were dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime situation that nobody could have planned for. Now, I was critical, even before this podcast was a thing, of doing day-and-date releases for all of those movies, for their big-budget movies, because I felt that for most of them, they could wait and see how they do in streaming later down the line. That I didn't think there was anything to be gained from releasing them at the same time when you could just release them in theaters first. Say they don't do well, fine. They might have a resurgence at the studio on the streaming service later. But yeah, it's funny to watch these people who are, like you said, out of touch. Have not everybody else is over here like, I don't know where my next paycheck is going to come from. They're like, but I didn't get to see my movie on the big screen. So it's just interesting because this will probably keep happening if they keep releasing these day and date movies, because there's going to be franchises that are going to fall uniquely in the middle, like a horror movie like Halloween, which doesn't need to be, like, for all intents and purposes, could have been a theater release.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize this, but I just saw it was reported a couple of days ago that Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, David Zaslav, and Peter Safran all had lunch together last week.
Who did?
Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, David Zaslav, and Peter Safran.
Well, yeah, because Zaslav made his announcement. He goes, we're going back to theater releases.
So
we're going back to what makes money.
So now I guess Zaslav sees that Steven Spielberg is whining about how streaming has taken precedence over theatrical releases, and he has the perfect solution for him.
Nolan still makes money. Spielberg does not seem to be.
Well, why was he invited to the table then?
He's
clearly capable of it.
He's got the name value.
I don't know why you would make an autobiographical
movie about your family, about your upbringing.
An artsy autobiographical film about your upbringing.
Let me read you
in this climate of entertainment.
Let me read you the synopsis. It says, growing up in a post-World War II era Arizona, young Sammy Fableman aspires to become a filmmaker as he reaches adolescence, but soon discovers a shattering family secret and explores how the power of films can help him see the truth. The self-aggrandizement
Could this get
is
any
real.
more pretentious?
Very, like, I'm literally like, a handlebar mustache is appearing, and your nose is going up in the air as you say it.
Who is invested in this? Who is excited to see this?
Nobody. Nobody wants to see it.
Like, this is something you and only you can relate to. I guess, I wonder if,
it's got Judd Hirsch
if Shia LaBeouf's Honey Boy did well, because it seems like a similar concept, autobiographical film.
Yeah, but not on...
about his childhood and specifically his father.
And this movie has this is another movie kind of like an Amsterdam that has a bunch of...
David Lynch is in it.
Yeah, like it's got Seth Rogen, Paul Dano, Judd Hirsch. Like, Judd Hirsch is great, but like the rest of them, I can't stand Seth Rogen. So we'll see. I'm not believe it or not, I don't care about the Fableman. Though I thought
David Lynch to play legendary director John Ford in a memorable scene at the end of the film. He credits Kushner's husband, Mark Harris, with suggesting Lynch and Laura Dern for calling her longtime creative colleague numerous times to get him to commit. It appears Lynch doesn't like being in front of the camera, and if he doesn't have to, his only request was that there were Cheetos on set.
Well, I sympathize heavily with the not wanting to be in front of the camera thing. So
and the Cheetos thing.
I don't have any. Well, guys, out here, they have Old Bay puffed Cheetos, which are actually the greatest thing ever made in the history of food, if you can call it food.
Yeah, I'll have to look for that for you.
Have you ever seen? Well, I can't. Like, have you ever seen the movie? No, you weren't even born when this movie came out. It was called Little Giants. Mm-mm. There's this great scene in Little Giants where a kid gets knocked out or knocked over and his helmet comes off, and they find that he's like a big guy, so it's like a fat joke back in the 90s when you could still make those. And they find out he's got a bunch of food in his helmet, and he pulls out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich from his helmet and starts eating it. And then the guy goes, he pulls out, he's like, "What's that?" He goes, "Cheetos." And the guy goes, "Crunchy or puffed?" "Puffed, wimp."
Are puffed for wimps?
Apparently puffed are for wimps, but okay. I prefer puffed Cheetos. So that's just me.
I guess you're soft for that one.
I don't know what you guys think.
Look, Spielberg is capable of making like mass appeal, money-making movies. Yeah. He's done it before. Obviously Jurassic Park.
Can you believe?
Obviously Indiana Jones.
Did you see the news that apparently the Indiana Jones test screenings are going horribly for the new one, and now they're going
Aren't they making a series?
now they're going to make a series because Disney,
when they realized it would be
imagine how
a disaster.
Well, yeah, like, well, no, I think it's like they're still going to release the movie, but they realize they're doing to Indiana Jones what they did to Disney, or what they did to Star Wars, which is literally destroy a property so thoroughly that you can only release shows now and not movies.
Yeah.
Because you've damaged the brand recognition so much that nobody cares.
Right. But
So-
it's like, it's so cheapening.
Yeah.
And to, like, it's a beloved franchise. Why do you need to do that?
And Harrison Ford is old. Like, they don't need to do it. Just let it die.
Doesn't Spielberg have say in that? If he detests streaming so much, why is he allowing Indiana Jones to become one of these forgettable streaming series?
That's George Lucas.
Really?
I think it was.
I thought Spielberg was on Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but Lucas is the one who produced it through Lucasfilm.
So they're the ones who have authority over what happens to it.
Oh, by the way, guys, they're not technically like somebody said. I've never heard of that kind of Cheetos. They're not. It's not like the brand Cheetos.
Cheese puffs?
They're just Old Bay flavored cheese puffs. And they're the greatest thing ever made, ever.
I'll have to see if that's true.
So it says in 20. I wanted to mention one more thing for this. It says it's his first film to be distributed by Universal Pictures since Munich in 2005. So these people have worked through all of these studios and stuff like that, right? But it's his first screenplay since Artificial Intelligence in 2001. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I have no interest in see it, but watch it end up being really good. They spent less on this than they did on West Side Story. This movie cost $40 million.
And on Elvis.
How much? Do you know how much? Elvis
I think Elvis was in the 30 million
to make.
range.
Baz Luhrmann doesn't quite have the same name recognition as Spielberg. I mean, he's still well known, but not at the same level. But like, The Fabelmans cost $40 million to make. So you assume $60 million with marketing. I think they can make that back at the very least on pay VOD afterwards. So let's go Super Jets.
Crippled Head 01 said, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's Namore."
Somebody should do that in the theater or you have to say Namor like this is Namor.
Johnny Derp said, "If a 15 to 17-year-old shouldn't be taxed, they also shouldn't receive any of the benefits paid for by taxpayers. It can't always benefit you Zoomers." Which benefits, though?
You would need specifics, right?
I don't think that most 15 to 17-year-olds who are working are getting benefits, like healthcare.
They're on their parents' health care.
Yeah.
At that
So
point,
what are the benefits?
Okay.
Caper 2. I mean, certainly if they're getting taxed, it's going into Social Security, which they are not going to get.
How do you feel about opting out, about being able to opt out of Social Security? Think you should be able to?
I mean, I'm not knowledgeable enough about it to say. Caper 2X said, "Semper Fi Marine Peeps, and I live on DC, Brett, or in DC."
Maybe in DC, because he's a Marvel guy. He's not a DC guy.
The ultimate irony. Kai Rain said, "Meet me later to beat the turtles and feed Marines for their birthday. Crayons for jarheads."
So yes, they're just having a go at the Marines today.
Roy Gatan said, "Get Ian here. I have questions about Indonesia."
The question is, did Ian ever start playing Elden Ring?
I doubt it. He's kind of stuck in his ways. Yash said, "Why is it that if a man kills another man in battle, it's called heroic, yet if he kills a man in the heat of passion, it's called murder?" Is that a quote from something?
In the movie Wayne's World, yes, that's a line.
It's been a while since I've seen Wayne's World.
I mean, maybe that's it's when Stan Mikita is in there in the donut shop. There's also the great part where he says, "You want to rip his heart out and so you can show him how black it is before he dies." He goes, "Actually, I was thinking about filing a claim with the union." Now I have to go watch Wayne. See, I would rather go tonight and go watch a special screening of Wayne's World
and Wayne's World 2 in a row
than Wakanda Forever.
Halls in the Kid. Was there a third one? Or am I making that up in my head?
I don't think so.
Okay. Halls in the Kid said, "Because one of those is on behalf of the state."
In relation to what?
The taxes thing?
Oh.
I don't know. They're taxed by the state versus.
Porco Rosso forever says
don't
the line was an Al Bundy line, so maybe he said it in Married with Children, but I just remember it from Wayne's World when Ed O'Neill plays Stan Mikita.
Tradap Taco Bell Prince said Universal is Universal NBC asshats, so Peacock too.
Well, thank you for the asshats part. I appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
I imagine Universal still owns stake in. It's not Comcast? I thought it was. I could be wrong about that.
I don't know. I don't know if they're affiliated with Comcast. Kai Rain said, "Come on, I know you want to fight the Foot." What?
The Foot Clan, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know.
Tradap Taco Bell Prince said, "Chester's Flaming Hots. I heart Cheetos with an ulcer."
Halls and the Kid says it was a response to a super chat that must be missing now. So maybe somebody retracted something.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Marie Kanker and Brady Boy. Thanks for the laughs."
Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to make people laugh. It's our job.
I'm Marie Kanker now.
Is that a reference? I don't know what that means.
That was who I was for Halloween.
Oh, okay. All right.
Did you watch Ed, Edd n Eddy, or was that before your time?
I didn't watch it.
Was it like when you were you ever watching Cartoon Network?
I wasn't a Cartoon Network person. I had I was I dated a girl who's really into watching like what's it called, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and stuff like at that time. Just all right. One more super chat from Carnell says the annexation of Puerto Rico is one of the best plays in football movie history. Another great Ed O'Neill flick. Yes, that is true. That is like two Ed O'Neill references from two Ed O'Neill characters separate from one another. In Wayne's World, he plays Stan Mikita, who owns Stan Mikita's Donuts. But then in the movie that I referenced where the guy says crunchy or puffed, that's Ed O'Neill too, who plays the football coach.
Oh. And
Rick Moranis plays his brother in that movie.
That's funny.
It's incredible stuff.
Whatever happened to Rick Moranis?
So he retired. His wife died, if I remember correctly, and he retired so that he could raise his kids. And like he was supposed to come back, like last year he was going to make an appearance in Ghostbusters or something. I don't even remember if he did. But like when he was supposed to come back, like right after that was announced, he got punched in the face or something in New York City, and then people didn't hear from him again. So thanks, douchebag, whoever that was that punched Rick Moranis in the face. You took away a national treasure. It's not fair. There's one more there. Do you want to read it?
Tradap Taco Bell Prince said, "I would never call the Waffle House princess an asshat. Universal are asshats."
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
He wasn't being rude to you.
Cool.
All right, guys, we're moving on. Now, this is a great story of a very, very moral and amazing human being doing something extremely beneficial for society. It's not a virtue signal at all, I promise you. It says, Rainn Wilson changes name to Rainfall Heatwave Extreme Winter Wilson to protest climate change.
Now, I'm not sure it actually is the name you just said, because I saw a different one. I saw Rainfall Heatwave Rising Sea Levels Wilson.
Well, you know what I think? I think that these people are amazing human beings that are doing everything in their power to just save the planet and do great things for humanity.
His tweet says, "Join me at Arctic Base Camp in bringing attention to the melting issue. We need world leaders to take action at, I don't know what COP27 is. The Arctic is melting at millions of liters per second, yet this problem can't seem to make a name for itself, so we'll make a name for it." I don't know if he's actually committed to legally changing his name. He might have.
They say that in here that he does. He goes, "With the help of my scientist friends at Arctic Base Camp, I've changed my name to Rainfall Heatwave Extreme Winter Wilson." Wilson said in a statement, "This is not a joke. I'm as serious as the melting Arctic, which amplifies global risks, including extreme weather events around the globe."
Oh, it also might be acid rain kills rainforest or kills trees. Wilson. I'm not sure what he actually settled on. Arctic Base Camp is just a nonprofit for climate scientists.
So, I have to ask. I'm just gonna ask.
Can we play this video where he's unveiling his name?
Yes.
Just so we can see which one he chose.
Hi there, I'm Rainn Wilson, or should I say fall, heat wave, rising sea levels, and we have to do something about it now, Wilson. Sorry to be so dark, so quick. You see, what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. As the polar caps melt, it drives up risks throughout the world, including extreme weather events that affect all of us. So, as a cheap little stunt to help save planet Earth, I've changed my name on Twitter, Instagram, and even on my fancy writing paper.
At least he admits that it's a
Acid rain
cheap stunt.
kills trees, Wilson.
You know?
Because I'm an Arctic risk name changer, which is going to be a game changer.
Oh, stop it there.
Mission.
I can't take it anymore. Look, firstly, my question is, how can someone who is naturally funny lose all sense of humor and like relatability so quickly and dramatically this way? And secondly, I'm asking, what can possess someone to be so convicted in an ideology that has no hope in it? No
solution.
Message of hope, no solution, no end point. Like, if you think about this in terms of a religious ideology,
Yeah.
or a philosophical movement, even, there is no like eschatological end.
Yeah. There
to
is
this.
well this is I mean that's
Like-
kind of the crux of activism, right? Is there's never actually an endpoint because it becomes a self-defeating movement when
Like-
you actually solve your problem.
Where in this does Jesus come back?
Yes.
I don't know if that's the right way to word it, but that's my genuine question. It's
Well-
like, what is actually going to solve this problem?
I like the idea
This
that
is about him making himself the solution and the Messiah.
I like the idea that it ends when Obama buys another house on the beach. Like that's how you know we've solved climate change, climate crisis. I like when Barack Obama finally buys his 5th house on a beach somewhere. That's when you know the climate crisis has been solved, because it means that you're signaled to be safe to go there, because 4 houses would just be, I mean, who could believe that? Anybody could buy a house on the beach when the climate's melting the polar ice caps.
Yeah, it shows a lot of faith in the next 10 years that the sea levels won't just take your house out.
I think we should bring back like ozone layer alarmism. Like we should start bringing aerosol cans everywhere and just start talking about the ozone layer.
I think it should be about like something more sympathetic, like the pandas, the polar bears.
I love pandas.
The tigers.
I know a lot of people don't like pandas.
Endangered species activism, maybe like genuine tree hugging would be cool. Handcuffing yourself to things.
And speaking of which, okay.
Gluing your hand to the Starbucks counter so that they'll make almond milk cost less.
Well, no, I'm over anything like that now, because now we've got those losers who are like throwing soup at old
I
masters.
think that's different than just like gluing yourself somewhere.
So we've got this article.
Like doing a sit-in.
I found this right before the end of the show. You know, Adam McKay, he directed Don't Look Up.
Yes.
He helps fund the group behind Art Van.
Stop Oil. I've seen more of their stunts. They must have had a slate of things planned.
Well, I'm sure he donated a lot of money for that. So it says, in an odd phrase, but one that rushes to mind in today's woke world. This is from Christian Toto on Hollywood and Toto. Think Mark Maron, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, to name a few comedians who embrace the cancel culture ethos. Hollywood is mostly silent after the Sundance Screen documentary Jihad Rehab got canceled. Legendary filmmaker Walter Hill recently said that the woke revolution is the death of art. Well, I don't disagree with that, though. I think it just changes the art. So Adam McKay, who helmed Anchorman, Step Brothers, Don't Look Up, donated $4 million to Climate Emergency Fund just last month. Must be nice to have $4 million to donate to the fund. He joined the group's board following the donation. The Climate Emergency Fund is unique in their commitment to funding civil, nonviolent, disruptive activism. It is not nonviolent to ruin an old master. I'm sorry. It's not.
What do you mean by that?
I find it to be particularly heinous. Okay? You
mean specifically the Just Stop Oil stunt?
Yeah, the amount of, first of all,
vandalism, you mean?
That type of vandalism is also, did you see the ones the other day of like they were drilling holes in tires of trucks that are carrying milk because cows?
Yeah, no. I saw them spray painting orange spray paint all over like government buildings that said "Just Stop Oil." But for the celebrities who are playing into this from the comfort of their homes with, remember
the Kardashians
he's sitting here in his home office making a video with the least effort possible. Yeah. And self-aggrandizing for it, and it just feels like if it's not genuine, this has got to be like some serious performance art. This guy is like fully drinking the Kool-Aid. That's what one of the quote tweets said. Another person said, always uncomfortable when someone's cheese has completely slid off of their cracker.
Yeah.
Another person just said, what? This is such a Dwight thing to do, LMAO.
People were saying he's trolling. Maybe it's true, but it says something about our society when you can't tell anymore when they're trolling or not. Because we are at a point of weird climate alarmism that's absolutely bonkers. And like you said, remember when Project Veritas released that video where it was like a CNN desk, a guy who worked at one of the main desks at CNN. He said, after the election, our next thing is going to be the climate. And then like the next day was when all the websites started adding tabs at the top of their websites that had something for climate change.
How about we generate our Arctic risk names?
Ooh.
Yeah, you can go to the link in his bio from his tweet. And then it'll go to it's at the top of his link tree. I'm about to type in my name. Okay.
Do it.
Let's see. Mary Collapsing Economies Morgan.
Oh my God.
Let's create another.
I'm doing mine. Do I just type my name?
Yeah. I want to see if I get a different one for you.
Brett suspended shipping Dasovic. What? What does that even mean?
It didn't work for me. Why isn't it working?
Trying again.
Brett Ruthless Rain Dasovic.
Hey, all right.
I'm going to put in Dane font. Let's see.
Dane font?
Dane Sinking Coastlines.
That's very boring.
Font.
Dane.
Man, why does Rainn Wilson get such a good one? We get boring ones.
It didn't show me Dane's here. I got to go back.
It's kind of glitchy too. Get your shit
Dane
together.
Intensifying
Get
Monsoons
your shit together,
font.
Arctic Risk.
Dane Intensifying Monsoons font. It's very boring.
Man, this website is lame.
All right. Thanks, Arctic Risk. But the point here, guys, is there is no end to Hollywood activism, or what I like to call slacktivism. And I also got one more thing here. If you want to talk about other things that are completely hollow and empty gestures, we have Sean Penn, who might actually top Rainn Wilson. Sean Penn gave an Oscar to Zelensky.
He was merely loaning his own Oscar to Zelensky.
Yes. Says the United States has given him $17.6 billion in aid so far. Great Britain has delivered 120 armored vehicles and anti-ship missile systems, and Germany has sent him $1.6 billion to support the effort. Notice how all the other countries are getting taxed way less than us. But none of these paltry stocking stuffers approaches the generosity or sheer enormity of what actor Sean Penn has done for Ukraine President Zelensky. He's loaned him his Oscar, guys. Oh, thank you.
He said, "This is for you. It's just a symbolic, silly thing. But if I know this is here with you, then I'll feel better and stronger for the fight.
Oh, shut up.
When you win, bring it back to Malibu." Yikes. Do you remember single-use... By the way, this is just like reminded me, single-use jeans. Heidi Montag.
We talked about that on here.
Yeah, Heidi Montag had this other... climate
that was
about like, I guess it was about like the climate impact of denim.
I thought it had to do with like
or was it about
the shipping or something like that? Yeah, there was single-use denim.
This just shows like it's never the message that sticks with people. It's always the stunt that sticks with people. Like. Already, I'm sure, tons of people forgot what the meaning of the soup on the Van Gogh painting was. They just remember that you threw soup on a Van Gogh painting and looked like an idiot while doing it. They don't remember what you were saying while doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, where is the meaning in all of this besides just vying for attention in the media?
Do you think a lot of them...
For yourself, not for an issue.
Like, when the kids... Like, the part about it that always feels very, like, manipulative to me is they're always... it always feels like an abuse of kids. Like, because it's always kids that they get to do the most activism and the most damage.
Those two kids looked like kids, but I'm sure they were young adults.
And, yeah, but okay... young adults then. It feels like people that are disenfranchised in their early 20s, and these actors sit there, they've already made their money. They've reached an income bracket where they're not going to be the ones that suffer from any type of regulation that goes into effect anyways.
Or theoretically, if we were in a climate crisis that was imminently about to destroy the world and supply chains were about to shut down for it, then these rich celebrities would be the last to be affected by it. And in fact, they would resist that to the very last moment because they have unlimited resources. Likely, a lot of them have bunkers in middle America. I know Post Malone does, but think about the amount of celebrities who have these doomsday prepper like plantations basically that aren't telling the media about it. I'm sure a lot of them are prepared for the worst case scenarios, but they'll fearmonger about it in the media in a disingenuous way to bring attention to themselves and self-aggrandize.
There was a great episode of the show Elementary where they find this guy who's running a con where he's selling like fake bunkers, like he builds this massive bunker underground, and then he's like selling space in the bunker. So people, like, when the world comes to an end, basically, like, it's this massive facility, and he's selling it to, like, paranoid rich people, and they find out that it's not real, that all, like, most of the supplies in there are fake and whatnot. So.
And that's what all, like, cryogenic freezing grifts
are. Oh, yeah. Like, Ted Williams' head is still somewhere, I'm sure. Like,
and Walt Disney, do you believe that conspiracy theory?
Right next to Walt Disney. He's hanging out there so that he can bring Walt Disney back. So,
yeah.
Actually, you know what? Speaking of Walt Disney
and conspiracies,
you ready? Well, let's do it. All right, guys. So this is fantastic. We've got this article here from The Independent that says Disney Channel is accused of feeding children anti-communist propaganda in resurfaced Girl Meets World clip.
So I saw this resurface alongside other clips from that show because they explored some pretty bizarre topics like religion and mental illness and other stuff. It ran from 2014 to 2017, so after the time that I was watching Disney Channel.
And long after the time when I had a crush on Topanga Lawrence back in,
Boy Meets World
yes.
days. Yeah.
Hubba Hubba.
This is the spin-off of Boy Meets World starring Sabrina Carpenter. So this clip, I saw it on Twitter only just recently, even though this article is from 2020. Let's react to it.
Guys, we may have to delete this clip later.
Hopefully not, though, because it's not directly sourced from the show. I found one that was recorded.
We're gonna play it, and we'll see if we don't get copyright.
Okay, what's this? We are putting up a wall to protect ourselves from them. Don't you think that's a little extreme? It's the judgment of the honor board to separate those who cheat.
Share. Hey, we all said it at the same time. I'm hungry. What is happening to us? Whoa.
We don't want to become like them. We'd rather remain a free society of individuals instead of whatever the heck that was.
But isn't the best part of a free society the fact that it allows its people to consider all beliefs?
Yeah, but I want my friends back, Mr. Matthews. Can you fix this?
You know, I graded your recent exams. Mr. Fryer.
He's no Mr. Feeney, that is for sure.
You get an A. Mr. Babineau. 100%. You get an A. Miss Hart. Miss Matthews. Farkle. 100%. You get a C. you don't do it yourselves, it makes you average. A divided by 50 is a C. Look at you. You're all the same. You're average. You're common.
Communism. This is why it fell. People didn't want to all be the same.
Without incentive, there's no motivation.
Thank you.
Without motivation, there's no advancement. In a truly free society, we share the best parts of ourselves without cheating. Because we get to learn who we are individually.
Come on, guys. Separately, you're the best individuals I know. I miss you.
Just how did this end up on Disney?
Maya?
How did it
Yeah.
slip past?
I think I'd like it better if I was doing well because I was doing well.
This is the craziest part, guys.
But now you're not me. There's only one of you, Farkle. There's only one of all of us. It's better that way, isn't it?
We were founded on the concept of welcoming all people
I can't
from
believe-
all different parts of the world and encouraging each of them to find out who they are.
Why?
Because the individual is valued here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What if she unbuttons it and it's just Che Guevara shirt?
There you are.
Welcome back, guys.
No, this part.
It's so weird.
She puts her hand to her heart as she looks at the American flag in the corner.
Riley, I'm proud of you.
This was
Fryer, tear down this wall.
Like, what?
take that, East Germany.
And this was in what, like 2015
this
or
is-
something?
Yeah, so
Around then. I have no idea how something
Slipped
this like blatantly anti-communist propaganda would make it onto a Disney Channel
I know.
show this late in the game.
It's also funny too because maybe it's because I understand that most of Hollywood doesn't agree with what we just watched. That I
Right.
feel like when I'm watching it, that none of them believe what they're saying. Like the
It almost felt like they were playing some joke on like the idea that they would be anti-communist. I don't
Yeah.
even know, but it doesn't even seem that self-aware. I think it was genuinely.
But most of what he said was accurate. Like, you know, he's like, the individual is valued here, and that's what they should be talking about. But it felt fake to me. It felt like
Yeah.
they didn't believe it.
So I saw a lot of tweets about this clip in particular saying that this is just blatantly feeding children anti-communist propaganda and it's so immoral that they would do that and poison children against a certain ideology, even though the rest of Disney Channel is generally propaganda just from the other side.
It'd be funnier if he was like, oh, that's interesting, face the wall.
Right.
So it says, the clip from the episode, which has now been viewed more than 3 million times, sees Corey lecture the girls about the need for individualism. They also talk about how they got caught cheating on a test. I'm guessing what they're saying is that it was supposed to be a test that they were supposed to be doing individually, but the three did it together. So it is, it's really funny. Like the...
I saw a tweet that said, Girl Meets World was such an odd show. In it, an adult was shamed for not wanting to date a 14-year-old, and they ultimately ended up together. I saw that scene on YouTube. They have an anti-autistic TV episode where one of the characters is diagnosed with autism, and the two girl cast members go up to him and act like he has a terminal illness.
Keys in the chat says Girl Meets World was consistently good. It wasn't one thing that slipped through. So, hey, I love it. I love it.
But
I'm
it's
here for
weird
it.
because then I saw those two girls who came out of the show, Rowan Blanchard and Sabrina Carpenter, become some of the most annoying
Were they
former
actors?
Disney child stars.
Well,
you know?
yeah, but they're actors. They're just paid to say what's on screen at the time. Like I would be more interested to figure out who it was. In fact, I'm going to look it up. That produced it.
But isn't that weird?
It's
So
really
they
funny.
ended in January 2017, which is actually like right in the middle of, you know,
Yeah.
the rise of wokeism.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting timing that would end up on the show.
see. You wish so. He did. Okay, yeah, he was the one who did the original Boy Meets World. So it was just. It was a more balanced time. We were in a more balanced time. And then we should also.
And why did they call it communism instead of communism?
Yeah, I have no. Because it said communism on the board. It's not like there was a problem with saying it. But the line "without incentive, there's no motivation. Without motivation, there's no advancement" is 110% right. Like, that's the funniest part about this is, like, I think about everybody that complains about this stuff.
But I saw communism, like, supporters on Twitter tweeting about how messed up this was to show children propaganda specifically against their own ideology.
Yeah.
But when it's propaganda that supports their ideology, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, you can say it's wrong to give children political propaganda, but at least be consistent about it.
Yeah.
Whether it supports your ideas or not.
I've also seen guys that, like, I was watching a video the other day where they were talking about, like, if you put communism or in like a chat or like in a, like, when you leave a message or a comment on someone's page, it immediately goes to the held for review part.
Oh.
So I don't even, like, if people are typing it, those comments might not even get through. So yeah, they were very upset, and of course the media is very upset at pushing this, despite the fact that they can push anti-capitalist messages at their heart's desire without any problem or any really way of acknowledging to the fact that they're pushing anti-capitalist messages while being part of one of the most capitalist industries in the entire world, which is the film industry.
Also, I just sent you the scene that people were talking about that they thought was ableist against autistic people. And it was a weirdly shot scene where this kid tells his friends that he was diagnosed with autism, and they seem weirdly angry at him.
They're like, "How dare you?"
You don't.
Hold on. Let's start it from the beginning.
And they walk toward him in a rather intimidating way, like they're gonna hurt him.
If I have autism. You don't. Let's go tell them you don't. I might have a type of autism called Asperger's syndrome. You don't.
What is it?
It's a disorder that affects a person's behavior.
Farkle. When I said that you were a little farkly, what I meant was that...
Yeah, you behave just like a perfectly normal Farkle.
You do.
We'll get the results from today's interview and we'll know.
We know. We don't know. Guys, I've passed every single test I've ever taken.
He made us come right over. He didn't want to go home. He didn't want to do anything except be with you.
Of course. That's who he is.
I see it in my classroom every day.
The most important thing to him was that you're a part of this.
Because he's Farkle.
That's who you are. No matter what anybody says.
Like, it's so weirdly aggressive.
And they're talking about, like, he's dying.
Yeah.
Like he's got
a he just announced that he has cancer. And they're like, no. Let's see. This quote tweet said, "This highlights a wider issue within Girl Meets World where a group of Disney-approved, socially liberal, fiscally conservative writers attempted to tackle complex topics with about as much nuance as being hit by a bus. Other examples include the infamous communism episode." So they're saying that Disney specifically chose a writer's room of socially people who identified as socially liberal and fiscally conservative, and they wanted to write those ideas into the show.
I also love the idea that they frame that like it's bad. Like, I would imagine, like, a lot of, like, let's face it, a lot of adults now, whether, like, they're not fully conservative as they get older. Like, a lot of people are socially liberal, fiscally conservative. That's where I think a lot of that movement has gone to. Obviously, our audience might be a little bit different here, but, like, that's where I feel like I fall most of the time. So is socially very liberal, fiscally very not very conservative, fiscally on the conservative side, but socially liberal outside of the insanity. That's what's going on right now with gender ideology and things like that, as if those people couldn't write stories.
I think it's quite obvious at this point that all children's entertainment is, well, not all, but definitely the majority is injected with propaganda of all kinds. It's just seen as benign when it agrees with people on the left, and then when it's anything critical of them, it's more glaringly obvious because it goes against the grain.
And then Sketch Therapy says more Topanga, please. I second that motion. More Topanga at all times. There should always be more Topanga. That's what's important.
Yeah, someone tweeted, not to add to cinnamon toast shrimp discourse, but did you know Topanga directed the anti-communist propaganda episode of
Oh my
Girl
God,
Meets
that's
World?
amazing. Oh my God. Let's get her on the show. Can we get Topanga Lawrence? Can we get her on the show?
Could be true.
That would be incredible. Incredible.
And then they also said that Girl Meets World insensitively treated the issue of religion in an episode they called Girl Meets Belief. And it showed that character Farkle arguing with the rest of the cast about religion because he didn't believe in God. And then the teacher character Corey came in and argued with him about like whether seeing is believing, and he said, just because you can't see the air doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Farkle. And they just like pwned him, and then everyone was mad because it like obviously kind of strawmans atheist arguments.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, I can see how this show had a reputation for bristling the wrong people, you know, the people who are in power in Disney or in the media in general.
Time to find out if she directed that episode. I need to know.
I think she did, though. That's what they were implying.
Let's see. Girl Meets World. Oh, yeah, she did. Girl Meets Communism. In 2016, that episode came out.
Someone said Boy Meets World dealt with a lot of issues in a really good way, and Girl Meets World fumbled the bag. Do you agree? Do you think Boy Meets World did a better job at tackling like serious topics?
I just saw an article recently where Ryder Strong from the original show said that he felt that they handled the topic of sex poorly because they covered it during like the prom episode or something like that. So this is a show that's continuously brought back up. So she did direct this episode. It says
oh my gosh, someone said, remember when they found out Farkle had family in the concentration camps during World War II? This show was too much. That kind of is too much for a kids show, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if I like that. I genuinely don't think that there should be propaganda in kids shows of any persuasion.
Very hard to do.
I think if you're gonna like stand against one type of it, you should be consistent and stand against all of it, right? Someone said, low-key, this episode upset me because I have Asperger's and their reactions made me feel horrible. Yikes.
It's the world we live in today. So that's, I mean, I'm trying to get Danielle Fishel on. Let's get Danielle Fishel on. Maybe we can, I wonder if she's got an Instagram. We can send her a message, a Twitter. We could send her a message and try to get her on. That would be incredible.
Huh.
No? So yeah, let's go super chats for a bit. But okay, so I actually have one more question. So how do you do the shows without propaganda then? That seems like the hardest part, right? Because it's very hard to not write some of your worldview into your work. Otherwise, you're going to make nothing but stuff like Coco Melon, and that's it.
Oh, I don't know if that's fair. I guess it depends on what you consider propagandistic. You can definitely address real-world issues and serious topics in a way that doesn't try to force a younger audience to adopt a certain worldview, but rather like presents different views and leaves you to ask yourself or people you know about them rather than authoritatively telling you what's right and wrong. But like, think about when teen pregnancy was a huge topic in like teen shows, but it was never representative of like the real statistics.
Yeah.
Like teen pregnancy was the highest it ever would get in like I think the early 90s, and it went dramatically lower after that. Yet it still was a super dominant topic in young adults shows and movies. So that's an example of propaganda right there.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at some of the reviews on the IMDb for this episode. It says, I don't see the point of this episode. Is America still trying to scare people with communism? And they used kids. This is not right. We'll tell that to Greta Thunberg. What a weird, basically propaganda episode on communism bad, capitalism good. Was the idea in there that capitalism good?
I mean, they were at least saying that individualism is good.
But that's not inherently the concept behind it.
And they weren't really talking about economics. They were talking more about like herd mentality versus individualist mentality.
Oh, listen to this part. It says, this isn't the 1950s anymore. Americans aren't stupid enough to believe communism is evil. What?
Wow, they worded that in such a quiet part out loud way. They should have said that communism is still a threat, not that it's evil.
So they're literally saying like all those things that happened, all the people that died, all the famine, all the Stalin, Lenin, Mao, none of it matters because it wasn't real communism anyways. And then we have one positive review. It says, this is an important episode for two reasons. The main one being that it tried to teach you to stay true to who you are, because if you give in to the pressure of those who want to change you and thus become something you are not, you lose sight of who you are. So, I'm still stuck on the fact that person's like, communism's not bad. Like, it's the world we live in. Do you think that's true, though? Do you think that, like, college has effectively indoctrinated enough kids into believing that? Or they just don't know the difference. They don't know what it is anymore?
In college, I think it's more about what your peers are telling you than what your professors are telling you at this point.
Yeah.
Because even when I was at a public university, I didn't have a lot of super obvious propaganda in my classes, but if you asked any student what they thought about these things, they'd be in unanimous agreement, and it's just something that you're expected to fall in line with.
Yep. Let's go to super chats.
Well, don't you want to talk about Maitland Ward?
Oh, let's do it after. Should we just go to it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's from Boy Meets World.
Yes, I guess that's very true. You want to go ahead and...
Maitland Ward has been on kind of a weird press tour, basically encouraging women to go into porn because she says it's 10 times more money than she ever made as a Disney actress on Boy Meets World. She said that going into adult films liberated her from Hollywood and earned her a lot of money. This was as recently as like a couple of days ago when she was doing an interview with The Entrepreneur. She said, I make so much more money, I have so much more control, and I'm having so much more fun. Just if you looked into her eyes and saw like the vacancy, then I don't know if you'd totally believe what she's saying. She's 45 years old now, and her career switch happened how long ago?
I believe that she believes it.
How long ago was it that she switched into adult films?
I believe
Must
it or
have
not,
been a long time ago.
Believe it or not, I don't know. I have not checked into this. I could do some research and get back to you.
But more recently, she started an OnlyFans and earns 6 figures a month from it, she reported. And I think it's really telling that she is able to use her platform as a former child actress.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of it.
To make more money in adult films. That is specifically why she makes as much money as she does.
Is what
because of the way people remember her as a child.
Yeah. So is what she's saying that basically that the porn industry, like the producers and the men in porn, somehow treat her better than the producers that treated her as a child in the regular Hollywood industry? That
is almost what she's saying. She said that producers of Boy Meets World wanted me to try on lingerie in their office. Since Rachel was the only character that regularly removed her clothing, this occurred more than once. She says her porn career has been free of sexist drama, allowing her to build her own brand and have total control over what comes in and what goes out.
There is something to be said for somebody like that to be able to work 110% on their own terms with the type of money they can make.
Sure, maybe if you're on OnlyFans,
well,
but that's not what she started with. Yeah. It didn't start there.
Yeah, so it says, Hollywood kind of typecast me and shunned me as this sitcom girl, she added. The actress also writes about the sleazy encounter she had on the set of Boy Meets World. In one instance, she claims, so they made her try on lingerie when she was a teenager in her office. That is the world we live in, guys, and that is why this podcast exists, because Hollywood producers are scumbags.
I think it's just really disgusting that obviously she was groomed from a young age to think it's okay that she is sexualized like that and dehumanized in that way. And therefore, she's trying to revisit it and make it her own choice so much later in life, when obviously it was never her choice and she's just trying to reclaim it because, you know, it hurts less to feel like you chose that for your life instead of confronting the fact that it was forced on you.
So, okay, what part? The Hollywood part or the career later?
She had sexualization forced on her when she was very young working for Disney. However, she's now framing all of this that she's doing now, like adult films, as her own choice because it's a lot easier to say that, you know, this was all your own empowerment and what you wanted to do all along.
So you think it's a cope?
Rather than, it's a cope to prevent her from confronting the fact that this has always been forced on her and she never wanted it.
I mean, there's a certain amount of... I think back to a lot of... What was I watching the other day? I was... at a certain point, when does your own personal like responsibility kick in after adulthood, right? Like you've coped with it, you've gone to therapy, you've done the therapy to deal with what you've gone through. Is there a healthy way that she could have sought therapy and then chose this as a career? I'm actually asking that question. Like, there are
not
people,
if she actually resolved the.
You don't think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think if she actually went to the work of resolving the like actual trauma that she went through as a child, would she ever end up in a career path like this? There's just no way. And I'm just tired of hearing like her body, her choice. And when it's just legitimately not her choice. She's 45 years old today and still revisiting the things that she went through when she was under 18.
Yeah.
How is that considered complete free choice?
Well, it is her choice. It's just that it's a result of trauma.
Well, yes, it is her choice. I'm not saying it's not, but it's obviously one that she's making for the wrong reasons and because she was hypersexualized at a young age when it was entirely inappropriate and someone should have stood up for her.
I mean, the cope is what it is, but it's also, as an adult, she has to make her own decisions. Do I think that she's making the right one? I don't know. But I know that there's a million other things she could be doing that would also be worse, which is like she could be in a far worse place in her life. She could be on the street. She could be doing, I don't know if she's doing drugs, but she seems like she's at least turned it into a career path that will set her up for a period of time. No.
She had a career path set up for her being an actress, not like she already had a career path and a future and a platform before tempting the idea of going into adult films.
With money, my hope would be that if she sets her up well enough financially that she can eventually get the help that she needs mentally to work herself through it at a later time. She's obviously not going to make that decision right now, and nobody can force her. And
I resent that she has complete financial freedom to not work for the rest of her life at this point, probably, and still continues doing this. Not only that, but goes to the media to promote it to other younger women who are in a completely different circumstance than her, encouraging them to do the same. That's the really reprehensible part, especially she's talking to young women who are not even in the entertainment industry to begin with. The reason she is powerful and successful in adult films is her past in entertainment before that.
And a lot of the ones who make it in adult films then pivot and turn it into success on Twitch or on OnlyFans because they use the platform that was built on in adult films to then go out and work on their own because they feel it's safe. I'm guessing because it's safer to work on your own when you don't have to constantly put yourself at risk from other people if you're working for yourself. So it's just sad all around, but I imagine her logic is like better that I make the money off of it than a bunch of sleazy Disney executives make the money off of it, or these people that...
I don't see why it has to be up for the market anyway.
So
why does your body need to be on sale at all?
I'm
just sick of the acceptance. This is bullshit. It is.
That people accept it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I fall into the it says OnlyFans.
I'm done with the live and let live. It's her choice. Blah blah blah. She's trying to coerce other younger women into doing this career path, which will inevitably set them up for failure and exploitation.
I'm not done with the live and let live part, but I do agree that there is a certain.
She's
amount
not
of,
living and let living.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of a problem with promoting that life to someone who, like you said, comes from a vastly different circumstance and will have a much harder time. It's kind of like there's the meme about like. When a regular girl starts in OnlyFans and only makes like $15, she understands what it's like to be a SoundCloud rapper. Like that's, you don't understand the life that you're helping promote for a lot of these people. I did see a really funny video about how like OnlyFans is literally like it's the number one promoter of like becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business now in America because
so
it's
disgusting.
Yeah, like that's the world we live in right now.
And that's why Bad Baby, Danielle Bregoli, was invited to the Oxford Union to talk about her entrepreneurship selling her body.
Yep.
Here's how you can make yourself into a product with no moral qualms, no questions about it. You're presenting this to women who are like age 17 to 21 saying like, this is how you make a name for yourself.
And we've fallen so far as a society that is now a lot of people will blame that on the state of our world and the state of the economy. Like there's no way to make money, and that's the excuse they use. There's no way to make good money without an education these days, even though you and I know that that's not necessarily true. They see it as like their own like kind of bougie version of like, I didn't have any other choice. Oh, what are they supposed to get, a regular job?
Well, they're being told, you're not going to get Social Security. The sea levels are rising. The world is doomed. You can't have children because of your carbon footprint.
Yeah.
You can't get married because that's slavery, basically.
All the things that held society together before are now, they found a way to intellectualize their way into an argument against it. And unfortunately, it's holding with a lot of young people.
Yeah, and you can't get an education because that's going to cripple you for life with debt. So you might as well just become a prostitute.
Yep.
That's more dignified than going through the way that the system says you should.
Yeah. It breaks my heart for some like for these types of cases. I don't know her situation. I don't know what abuse she suffered, so I tend to err on the side of like, it's her. She's an adult. She's allowed to make her decisions. But I do agree with you on the part about the message that it sends to a different class of young women who won't live or understand the circumstances are going to be very difficult or very different for them than they would be for who she was and how it served. But it's kind of like how entrepreneurs are like, oh, I got started on my own and built myself up from nothing. And a lot of people are like, well, or who is it recently that had we've all got the same 24 hours in a day quote? Was that Kim Kardashian or somebody said that? And
I know she said, get your effing ass up and work.
But somebody said something about like, we've all got the same 24 hours in a day, and a bunch of like cope on the internet was like, yeah, well, you've got nannies and you've got this and you've got that, like, because we live in a society that's built around envy and excuses now, and I hate that. Like, I hate that more than anything, is just the quick desire everyone has to make an excuse for why, and it's usually never about themselves. It's usually about themselves in relation to somebody far more successful, in which I say, like, just shut up and go about your business, because the cope is always real when they're like, oh, look at how successful this person is. And then they list off 15 reasons why they're not, when you could just be dealing with it on your own, because that's the society we live in. It's a society of envy and excuses. And like you said, one of those excuses is like, well, the world's going to end, and having a husband is a type of purgatory, and kids will destroy the planet, so I might as well just become a whore on the internet.
And also, if I have kids, then I can't be hot anymore.
Yeah, or that's a weirder trend.
Such a weird
now
lie.
Is like, there was like a thing on TikTok of like women who are like, they set out to have kids young, so not because they wanted to have kids young and raise good kids, but so they could be the hot mom. That was like, oh my God, you're like the same age as you look exactly like your daughter, which is just evil and freaking weird.
That's also like a weird way to preempt like competing with your daughter to be more attractive than her, which is also strange and mentally ill. Like I don't know. Everything looks so bleak right now.
Whenever things like this happen, I tend to err on the side of just get off the internet for a bit. Like the internet is a large, vast input of bad, evil, like of just bad crap and evilness that just infects your brain when you spend too much time looking at it. And the best thing you can do is to put your phone down, get off your computer, go out and do something that you enjoy. Whether you like biking, going, for me, it's going and skating. Get out of the house and actually into the real world. I refuse to use the term touch grass because too many people use that phrase now. But getting out of the house and doing that does a lot to like reset your mood when it comes to those type of really, really vile topics. And something like this is kind of disgusting, but to me, like, we fall on different sides of the issue as far as her choice for her actions. But I think what the message she sends, we absolutely agree. So
Yeah.
all right, let's go to super chats.
There are a lot here.
All right.
Tradap Taco Bell Prince said Eden and Eddie are my pronouns. So true. Kai Rain said, how about Ice Ice Baby Ninja Rap?
Wait, where's that? Up
This is
here?
way up.
Okay, I'm going up.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not gonna perform that though. If we could get Vanilla Ice on the show. He went in and he became like a hardcore artist, right? He became like a death metal musician.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think he like went between like hardcore and rap after his career. Yeah.
Taxi. Wait,
Didn't
what?
he get held off a balcony by
What?
Who was the music producer? It wasn't Suge Knight. It might have been Suge Knight, the guy who produced Death Row Records. Like held Vanilla Ice over a hotel balcony by his feet.
He's pretty heavy. How
Yeah.
do you do that?
It might have been somebody else. It might have been
Wow.
the dude. It might have been the dude from not Master P, but the other dude from No Limit. I'd have to check. But yes, that's the weird things that you pick up that you're like, why do I know that?
Tacti Platy said, Brett, I'm old and survived the acid rain of the 80s.
Ozone layer, acid rain, like what will it be after climate change? Like the climate change one is hilarious because they perfectly rebranded because it used to be global warming and they're like, but it's not always warm. We could totally get more publicity if we made it not just about warm but about cold.
Yes. Global cooling.
Sketch Therapy says Suge Knight is huge, so it was probably Suge Knight.
Bjorg Vin said it's a death cult.
And
The climate thing, yeah.
Yeah, and
Mark-
Rhaegar Targaryen says it was literally the CEO of Death Row Records. Yeah, it was Suge Knight who was the CEO of Death Row Records. By the way, Death Row Records, which is now owned by Snoop Dogg, he bought it. He finally bought it. He's making his own biopic about his life. What is up with all these people making biopics about their life while they're still alive? You shouldn't be allowed to be involved in your own biopic.
So true.
You're gonna be too.
Take that, Madonna.
There was a great scene in the show of Castle where he's like, I don't ever want to be involved in my own biopic. He goes, why? He goes, because the biopic should be about truth, and I'm not a very honest person. It'd be too easy to make myself look good. So yeah,
That's what Madonna is about to do with hers.
Yeah, and did you see like 50 Cent like recently said more stuff about her? Because she keeps posting creepy pictures of herself, and he's like back
50
to
Cent is talking about
like
it?
earlier this year.
I didn't
He
know that.
he called her old and said stop posting like half naked pictures of yourself, you old hag.
Oh my
He didn't use
gosh.
that exact language, but he was just basically like, well, somebody was like,
Well, someone had to say
yeah,
it.
and like apparently he said it again, and she got mad because apparently they took like a photo together one time on a red carpet like 10 years ago. She's like, I thought you were my friend, and he's like, so like apparently like the other day she did the same. Like she posted another creepy picture of herself, and he's like, look at this old hag. He's like, somebody stop her.
I love that. I love old celebrity beef.
Love it.
Mark Riz said, hi, I'm Mark. Keep on fracking for profit and watch the world burn. Reyes. Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm glad
Mark
that you
Reyes.
are not falling for the Kool-Aid and are going to keep fracking. That's what you got to do. We got to be energy independent here in America.
Tacti Platy said, big avocado is the force behind climate change.
It could be. It could be all those avocado. Like
big almond.
The big almond industry is
big palm oil.
It's out to get you.
Yesh said, any plans on watching Weird? It's up your alley, Brett.
I've heard that.
Do you like Weird Al?
I have my personal favorite Weird Al songs are not part of the mainstream consciousness. I have unique. No.
Oh, you're a hipster.
I'm a hipster. I love Party in the CIA. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And The Night Santa Went Crazy. which The Night Santa Went Crazy never had a music video, but had a great animated video that somebody made in early YouTube era, where it denotes all of the violence that Weird Al commits against the other elves and the reindeer. Because the whole thing's about Weird Al, about Santa Claus going on, having a psychotic break and killing off everyone in the North Pole.
Whoa.
It's incredible.
That's going to be Violent Night.
Yes.
Can't wait for that, by
Can't
the
wait for
way.
that. It's not 2 weeks from now or something, right? December 2nd.
Not long. Yeah.
Going up.
Gross John said, "Good challenge, Brett, but who will Shredder be?"
What was the challenge? Now
You asked for the next Hannah Claire edit to be Super Shredder.
It would have to be Hannah Claire. I want it to be Hannah Claire.
But they're asking who will Shredder be?
I'm confused.
Wasn't the first one Hannah Claire as well?
Hannah Claire was the first one. I
Yeah.
want Hannah Claire to be the Super Shredder
Yeah.
in that one. We need to do that.
Tread Up Taco Bell Prince said, oh, no, I'm not gonna.
You're not going to read that one?
Not gonna read that one.
Oh, that's okay. Thank
Mel
you.
Alan Rogers said, "To be fair, Zelensky is one hell of an actor. Is he though?"
I have not. I
Never
saw
seen anything he's in.
I saw the clips of the show that was on Netflix at one point, but I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I can't speak.
Because there
really
was no
to-
dub.
Yeah, I could. Yes. Mary's very upset because I don't want to watch a movie. Like, I prefer dub and sub. I admit it. I'm a bad person. I prefer dub and sub with my productions that are not done in
Both.
English. Yeah.
Wow. Luis Aguilar said, "The lore of the Catholic Church is much more interesting than any of the lore in popular franchises. I've been attending RCIA and I'm enjoying it a lot."
What's RCIA?
The Rite of Catholic Initiation for Adults.
What's that about?
It's just if you are an adult who wants to convert to Catholicism, then that's the program that they put you in to like learn the basics of the faith.
So if I was like Father Stu and I wanted to just impress a girl and join the Catholic Church, that's
I think that's actually what he was doing in the movie.
Well, I'm not quite as good looking as Mark Wahlberg, but maybe someday.
Yeah. I love that he's framing it as like the lore when it's just history. Like history is like world lore.
It kind of is. I mean,
Trad
it's
Up
still lore.
said things, not thinks. Sorry, I have super glue on my hand.
Well, that
no
explains it.
context
No
for
context.
that. Johnny Derp said, "Cryogenics is the study of extreme cold temperatures. Cryonics is the idea of freezing organic tissue to be resuscitated. Yes, I am a nerd. That is all."
Thank you, Johnny Derp. We were wrong about that. It was cryonics.
So you can be cryonically frozen.
I thought it was cryogenics. I was wrong.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Is Comrade Mary becoming a dissident of communism?" I just always thought the aesthetic was cool. I don't like the ideology.
Well, I mean, do you think there's anybody we know that secretly like we always talk about who's the secret Fed, who's the secret commie here?
Everyone thinks that it's Dane.
The
He
Dane.
says everyone thinks that I'm a leftist because I have a beard and like curly hair or something.
Which is like
and glasses.
It's
But
not
that's
like it's not like he's got the bussin' haircut.
That's
Like,
not super distinctive though.
No, it's not.
Rob Lee said Boy Meets World was always over the top dramatic. Yeah, so was 90210.
I mean, my memories of Boy Meets World are very Topanga oriented, very and how cool I thought Ryder Sean's hair, like his hair looked in the show.
It's just funny that like all of those shows would frame teenagers as if they were adults dealing with adult problems when they just don't. Bobcat said, "Brett, if you got Topanga on, you'd spend the whole show simping for her. Nothing wrong with that, but you wouldn't get anything done all day."
Yeah, you're probably right. That's you're.
He cannot rebut you.
I would
It's
probably.
all true.
The hardest part would be not calling her Topanga. Would be calling her Danielle and not calling her Topanga. Now, if we could get Danielle Fishel and Candace Cameron Burr onto the same show, let's go. Let's do this.
Nathan Koss said, "I love when..." Oh, yeah, and Stacey Dash. Nathan Koss said, "I love when the tankies come out in force against a kids show from the mid-2010s."
Hey,
Yeah, that's the real battleground of ideas right now, is a discontinued Disney show.
My favorite... I'm going to let you guys know a little secret. One thing that I do in my free time is I write... I contribute trivia section to IMDb.
That's funny.
To shows that I watch. I go through and it's like, if I watch an episode of a show and I see two actors that have done in a previous show together, I'm the guy who goes in there and says they previously appeared on this episode of this. I do that because
Good for you,
Th-
Brett. You're doing a real service to
To
the
humanity.
wealth of knowledge on IMDb.
But my favorite is to go through like problematic episodes of TV shows from the early 2000s and reading the absolutely mentally ill reviews of like anytime something like one big one is like most shows did something where like there was a character who was transgender or there was a character who was a crossdresser, and it's always the review is always like the show might poke fun at them or it has some humor that's very much out of date and wouldn't be made now, but the review makes it sound like they killed their grandmother. Like the review acts like it's the end of the world.
That's
It's
funny.
hilarious.
Trot up, I'm not reading that.
Of course not.
Sorry.
I also like how
I've adopted his new nickname.
yeah, like you're not calling him Bad App. Like it just proves how good you are.
Whenever Waffle Sensei changes his username, I go right to the new one. Kai Rain said, Brett, Be My Sword, Fast Times should be a requirement for this show, and Breakfast Club.
I've seen both of them and I've only seen them once.
Breakfast Club is not as good as everyone thinks it is.
I understand that Fast Times at Ridgemont High is a very loved movie, but it's not one that really. I feel the same way about a lot of movies from that time period that people hold in very, very high regard. Like also they were a little bit before my time. Like I wasn't a teenager when a lot of those came out. I was just being born when a lot of those came out. So I saw them, but I saw them later. So
Yeah. Kai Rain also said, some people never grow. Don't let them stop you.
that is true.
I don't know what that is in reference to, but,
But I
generally approve of this message.
Yes.
BMF Nate Dog said she's independent but not someone you want your daughter around. That's true.
BMF was the name of what was or was it BFM was a record label. Nate Dogg is one of my favorite rappers of all time.
It says BMF, not BFM. Don't know.
But Nate Dogg is an extremely talented West Coast rapper who has long since passed, sadly. Died in 2014, I think.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said based Mary and good-hearted Brett.
And he added
Which
the extra
essentially
T.
means that you're cringe and I have no heart. But we'll take what we can get. Thank you.
Also, that could
Brett with the second T in parentheses. So
there's plausible
it's only
deniability.
your second T in Brett is only a formality.
Yes.
You'll earn the second T.
I have plausible deniability. I could say that's not me because I don't know if that second T applies or not. So.
Kai Rain said, the world isn't doomed. It will live without us.
Yeah, the world will go on
True
long
enough,
after we're gone.
But it's just not going to be in 10 years because the sea levels are going to rise.
Because Obama has to buy that fifth house before we know that it's safe to stop talking about climate change.
Tradap said, get he who must not be named, Adam Krigler, on PCC.
Doesn't he live in like Switzerland now or something?
I don't really know if he would be interested in that or if we would be interested in that. So, to be determined. Avi J said, broken toys are the feature, not the bug in adult film. I was on these sets in my 20s working behind the camera. Most crews super chill, but all the producers were just pimps with cameras. Hi, Brett.
Wow.
It's a weird hi, Brett, at the end of such a serious
all right,
thing to say. I don't know what to make of that.
So broken toys are the feature, not the bug in adult films. Yeah, it's the hybrid at the end there. I like it.
Just like on another note.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Guam Tech said bucks for good old Blader Boys from Blader Boys. Sorry that we were making fun of you yesterday for saying Blader.
It's a term. It's an industry
I'm sorry.
term.
It's just a literal way to describe what you do.
Yes.
Yet we were making fun of you for it.
We
were being such toxic bitches that day.
Toxic bitches that day.
We're being so mean and unruly and belligerent.
And they wonder why we're like, no broads allowed up here. The two broads get together.
Well, apparently I can be one of the boys.
No, just you can't have two broads together.
Oh,
okay.
That's Brett, you heard it here first, folks. Brett doesn't want to be outnumbered by the broads on the show. He's trying to conspire to have a sausage fest up here. I won't take it. I'll fight this fight on my own if I have to. A Taco Bell, Tradap Taco Bell Prince, baptized and circumcised, says, fun fact, I went to a Catholic school and wasn't diddled.
Oh, well, that's good.
That would put you in the majority. So good for you. Kai Rain said, I write on my face, we disagree, and I respect you.
Okay. All right, guys, we've got, what do you got left?
We've got a Womp Womp segment for you guys here. Tom Brady just lost a big investment with the FTX exchange in a crypto collapse for this coin called FTT. Yeah. I think he was invested in this along with his now ex-wife, Gisele Bündchen. But I don't know. Are they already
divorced?
I think they must be still.
Thank you.
They must be still like doing the litigation in their divorce.
Like that's quick.
So I don't know if Gisele was still invested in this herself, but I like the idea that it was just Tom Brady who was invested in it, and then she was like conspiring with her voodoo magic to collapse his investment. Just to, get back at him. I like the idea that she was doing her Brazilian witchcraft and casting spells on his crypto investments. And also, I just heard that she bought a mansion directly across from his mansion in Miami, I think.
Yeah.
Was it in Miami that they live in Miami, I think. So I like the idea that she's just staring out of her window from her mansion across the street and just like casting her spells onto him.
Yes. Can you explain? Is that like a thing for her? Is she like known for being like into?
She is openly talked about the fact that she like believes in witchcraft, like practices magic.
It's totally
completely yes.
Totally why he's
and that's
bad.
why it has like turned into a meme that she's trying to sabotage not only his athletic career but also now his crypto investments.
And crypto just crashed right after the midterms. Like it was under 16. And so Tom Brady's now just, he's going to have to be playing until he's like 100 years old. He's going to have to keep throwing that football forever.
Well, it doesn't mean he has to keep playing, but he just needs to keep on doing that like movement with his shoulder, or else his shoulder is going to be frozen in place.
Yep.
That kind of sucks.
So, this poor guy, like, so she's into witchcraft. What do you think? Do you think is that I guess that really wouldn't be voodoo or vodou. Like, who uses
there's overlap in all of it.
The pins in the doll,
like a voodoo doll.
Like a voodoo doll. Like she's got like one, so like every time she throws, she like pokes it and like he throws an interception. But imagine losing that much money just as you're about to get divorced.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. So I saw this tweet. It says Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen put their $650 million fortune into maximizing their stake in FTX cryptocurrency. So maybe they both lost out on this.
Yeah, it says how much both celebrities put into the exchange remains unclear, though the report shows FTX's valuation increased over 1,000% in 2021 from $89 million to over $1 billion. As pointed out by CoinDesk, FTX was looking at a $1 billion funding round and a $32 billion valuation in recent months. Gizmodo reached out to press teams for both Brady and Bündchen, but we did not immediately hear back. Does anybody actually immediately hear back when somebody reaches out to somebody else?
I've literally never seen them hear back.
Oh, yeah, here's the tweet. It says Tom Brady's going to have to play until he's 50. Tom Brady put their $650 million. Like, but that just seems stupid. Like, obviously, I'm not a financial analyst, but like to put all your money into one thing seems like the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. They have to be diversified in some way.
Okay, here's the tea on Gisele's witchcraft practices.
Okay.
It was a rumor from 2008 through 2011. It was an NFL tea thread. It started with Tom Brady having a secret GF that Gisele eventually found out about, and it was rumored that he paid her rent and made sure she looked good when they were creeping.
Wait, he had a secret girlfriend.
I think that's the rumor.
It's so old school. She's just plain old cheating. There you go. It's just old school athlete and Hollywood celebrity person. They just can't keep it in their pants. I kind of like it. It's a throwback.
Someone said, I wonder what his family really thinks of her. He comes from a devout Catholic family. Such a shame she has brought him into this voodoo nonsense, new age BS. I saw this documentary on him a few years back. I remember them in the car, and she was like, okay, we're going to do 4 hours of meditation. He looked at her like she was crazy. She's very bossy. I preferred him and Bridget instead.
See,
Giselle is too cuckoo. LOL.
This is further.
Well, if
proof
she's
that
hot enough.
being hot enough changes everything. She can say something absolutely. Put it this way: there is no dude on earth hot enough to be like, we're gonna do 4 hours of meditation, where a chick would just put up with that if she didn't want to. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's something unique to the feminine form.
That's hilarious.
It's like if Topanga came up to me and was like, we're gonna do 4 hours of meditation, and you gotta be like, fine, why not?
I guess Giselle is proof that, you know, if you're hot enough, you can also be
Nuts.
totally insane,
Well, that's-
and it'll be tolerated.
That's the How I Met Your Mother thing, the hot crazy scale.
So it can either work in his favor or to his downfall.
Yeah, the hot crazy scale is a thing. Like
It is kind of rude that people attributed his athletic success to her, though.
that is very. He's like, thank you, all those years of hard work. It's very annoying.
Yeah, I'm literally a prisoner to this sport now.
The hot crazy scale is absolutely a thing, and she's very, very high on that there. So it's exactly what you'd expect. So
What Tom Brady said was, she's about the power of intention and believing things are really going to happen. She always makes a little altar for me at the game because she just wills it so much. So she put together a little altar for me that I could bring with pictures of my kids.
it's like dismissing his own athletic ability.
I have these little special stones and healing stones and protection stones, and she
Thank
has me
you.
wear a necklace and take these drops she makes and say all these mantras. Dude, so he fell for it just as much as she did.
All this so he could just keep having sex with the woman he's already married to. Like, he doesn't care about any of this stuff. He knows that he's winning at football because he's good at football. He's doing this so that he can continue to have sex with his own wife.
Wow. Brady said that Bunchen told him, see, I did a lot of work. You do your work, I do mine. You're lucky you married a witch. I'm just a good witch.
God,
So she openly identifies as a witch.
That's the witch version of I'm being such a toxic bitch today.
So she like makes him do these mantras and like mess with crystal. She's literally a crystal chick.
Like, I'm sorry. There is no world in which an ugly person where all of this doesn't come off as major red flags. Only a hot woman gets away with this.
But maybe it started like he thought it started working just because he's good at his job.
Yeah.
And then he was like, it must be her witch spells.
Kiki says in the chat, says having a supportive wife was his gift. Yes, she was just supportive in a weird way, but that doesn't mean you give them credit for winning your games. The credit
weird.
would be like, look, I go to work and you take care of things at home and reduce the amount of stress and anxiety that I feel, which makes it easier for me to focus on my job and do my job well. That's not the same thing as like her being responsible for you winning the game.
Tom Brady has said that anytime he doesn't pray at this altar she made for him before a game or doesn't do his offerings, he loses. He's been very obedient. Ooh, that's gross.
Simp.
Well, it's also like, I don't know, who are you doing these offerings to? It's just creepy. It's obviously satanic.
Porco Rosso Forever says she's that guy from Major League. Yeah, in Major League 2 also, Pedro Serrano has like a little voodoo doll that he puts on his in his locker, and it's like a Trolls doll. Do you remember Trolls? Little
Yeah,
Trolls dolls?
I do.
It's like a little Trolls doll that he puts a cigarette in the mouth for, and he's got like a thing where he prays to a voodoo doll and a separate a Buddha. He prays to a Buddha because in the second one, because in the first one he prayed to like he was like more satanic or something. Like
Am I the only one who just thinks that like white people having like statues of Buddha in their house or whatever is just so LARPy and weird?
Well, in that movie the character's black, so
or really just anyone who doesn't actually come from a Buddhist, like a
background.
traditionally Buddhist culture, adopting those images when they don't really understand what the religion is about, or even if they do, it's just kind of cringe to me. I don't know.
So
and the Tom Brady stuff is obviously cringe,
but
he was totally bending to her will completely.
So is it because like the people with the Buddha with like dolls like statues of Buddha, is that because people are inherently like drawn to religion and they don't want to Christianity and Catholicism have been so heavily demonized here in this country, that they're like, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. Like, that's the big one. It's like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual.
And I'll just like window shop from all of the imagery
Yeah.
of religions without understanding any of them.
Yeah. Or committing to actually understanding it, right? Like, you love it
Well,
so much
yeah.
as far as that you can post infographics that talk about it, but not actually do the work that's involved in actually following the teachings.
What it is like, I'll believe in literally anything that doesn't require sacrifice from me. Like, that doesn't require me to behave a certain way. Anything that just changes me aesthetically, that's fine. Like, anything surface level, but if I have to change the way I conduct myself in my daily life, then absolutely not.
I want to add this. There's a chat, something in here from the chat from Large Shake says, Brett, your conversation with Mary doesn't make any sense. How does making money from becoming a porn actress have anything to do with having the money to
To
have
what?
anything to do with having the money to seek out help, adding baggage? I mean, my point was more that if she wanted to and she quit, she would have the money to be able to seek professional help and change her life and hopefully be able to move on past that, because she wouldn't be beholden.
The question of whether she can afford professional
Yes.
help is totally
And could retire from the industry
irrelevant.
without
Like,
needing.
we know that.
Yeah,
she wouldn't have to work for the rest of her life if
Not
she
in that
wanted
industry,
to.
yeah.
But the fact that she's weirdly addicted to the attention that comes from it,
Yeah.
and exploiting the name recognition that came from her stardom as a child, that's the sinister and creepy part of it that we were pointing out.
Yeah.
So we know that she is definitely like in a position to step away from that like whenever she wants.
I was more just asking the question, like, is that like the best thing you can hope for at a certain point? Is that she realizes she's made enough money, now she can work on herself, but that would require a completely different shift in her perspective of the world, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't find that much self-reflection to be commonplace among society these days. So, all right, I got a couple of super chats there.
Okay. Tacti Platty said, get that Tacti Platty guy on PCC and he can explain Big Avocado and how he has been a one-man army fighting against them and their sinister ways.
Also, guys, I'm working on getting a counter on here that will tell us when the next crisis party is coming. So we're working on that right now.
Oh, yeah. Yep. BMF Nate Dog said, your mom hears back when she reaches out.
But in
Kai Rain said, I love you all. Big hugs. Well, that's kind of gay.
And that is a fantastic way to end the show.
That just shows the difference between you and I.
I am more sentimental. Yes, I tend to be. One more.
Oh, was there? I don't see it.
It's right there.
Oh, Luis Aguilar said, much like Father Stu, I found a beautiful Catholic girl that I love. Unlike Father Stu, I'm going to marry her.
Well, that's good.
So true.
How did you feel about that scene? Did you you made
the fact that they broke up?
Well, you made the point that you like when I see that scene, I feel horrible for her because she.
I don't.
I know.
Because the thing is, like being a woman, I see what that mentality is, but she obviously went against her deepest principles, thinking that it was going to force him to commit to her, and that's like not only disrespectful to him because it's like he doesn't even have his own will. Like, she's trying to force him to marry her.
Yeah.
By like engaging in this thing that they both believe is wrong. And then once he decides that marriage is not for him and he wants to be a priest, then she like blames him for her own choice.
That like the part for me is like the sentimental side of me is more like I feel bad for her because it feels like she makes this decision where it feels like it's supposed to be this culmination of something where finally it comes to pass and then it doesn't. But also, yes, it's the actual real world response where you if you don't stand for your principles and you break from your values, that something like that is absolutely reasonable to expect to happen. And then the part where she blames him is thank you like I get it's a very human reaction to put the blame off on another person, but that part annoyed me. Like, you both made the decision to do this.
Yeah. And like looking at it also from a secular perspective, that type of dynamic happens all the time with people who don't have belief here or there about the morality of like premarital sex. And it's the same thing where like she doesn't want to take responsibility for her own actions.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, but also she is a sympathetic character.
There's something like me. I'm far more sympathetic, or I'm far more sentimental.
If
than
only
you.
they casted actresses who were like half as congenial as that one in mainstream, like other like more mainstream films.
She did great in that role. She needed to be that to make those scenes where he tells her that he's not going to marry her.
Yeah.
It doesn't work without
Because you
her
need to
feeling-
miss her.
Yeah.
You need to miss her the same way that he misses her.
And you have to feel that sense of warmth that comes from her that projects how her emotions were kind of passed off onto him. The emotions that he has to then rebuff.
Yeah.
In the sake of something of a higher calling.
Taco Bell Prince, I'm not going to like repeat the whole thing. Taco Bell Prince said, fun fact, I was with a girl and she was doing black magic. I'm not going to read that part. Made me fall in love with her.
Well, what kind of black magic would that be?
Well, if it didn't last, did it really work?
Those are the deep questions we ask here in Pop Culture Crisis.
Kyrene said, I don't know how to pronounce that. Do you know how to pronounce that?
I'm looking here.
It's this.
Cthulhu. I forget how to pronounce that. Something Cthulhu. Is our master stop talking? So it's supposed to say heathen.
I don't get it. Potatoes for Seamus said, Brady boy, you seem a lot more confident lately. And then he put a potato emoji.
Well, yes, it's the potato.
Do you think it's true?
I thought it is a potato. I thought that was a peanut at first.
Oh.
But potato makes more sense given that it's potatoes for Seamus.
Would you say that's true?
No. Depends. The two-person, when it's just me and you, I'm more confident in the conversation because it feels like we're just talking like we would normally talk when we're up here prepping for the show, so that might come through a little bit more. Taco
Bell Prince said obviously didn't work because I'm in love with Mary.
Well, and also somebody mentioned Black Magic Woman, which is a Carlos Santana song. It's a Santana song, so maybe you're the Black Magic Woman.
I remember there was a Hannah Montana song that referenced Carlos Santana, and I was thinking like, just only because it rhymes with Hannah Montana, and I was like,
Hannah Montana.
Why? Like, do you think that the fans of Miley Cyrus in the 2000s would know who Carlos Santana is?
No,
I don't think they would.
Especially in the 2000s, like all Carlos Santana did was just do amazing rock music, but it was back in the 80s and 90s. But then he had Black Magic Woman was great, but then he had a couple of he had the song with Babyface in the late 90s. So it's what it is. So, all right, is that all the super chats?
Yep.
All right, Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
If you want to see pictures of me, you can find me on Instagram at Mary Archived. And if you want to read my inane thoughts on the internet, you can find me on Twitter as well, also Mary Archived.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's always fun when me and Mary get to just be here and hang out with you guys, talk about all the crazy stuff that's going on in pop culture.
Tomorrow we have a special guest on the show. Not going to reveal who it is right now, but they'll be joining us to do our Wakanda Forever review, so we're really excited for that.
Yes. And in general, we're just very excited to start having guests here. Not for every Friday episode, but we're gonna be bringing people from outside the castle to come in and do these Friday episodes with us on Pop Culture Crisis. But if you want to follow me right now, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, please like the videos, leave comments on the videos, subscribe to the videos. I hate having to do that whole plug, but it really does help the show grow. I was looking at our analytics recently, and we are getting a lot more views coming from recommendations, which is great. So like those videos, share those videos out with your friends. Thank you so much. If you want to listen, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. We're here on YouTube at 3 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at PopCulture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Was there something funny, Mary?
I just see Kyrene saying, wait, I have a question. You better get your question in pretty quickly. We're out.
What is that question? We're literally down to the wire here. 5.
Maybe
4.
he was just kidding.
Okay.
All right.
All right, guys. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Later.